All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back for another awesome episode. Today, we have something a little bit different. We have one of you guys, one of the listeners, one of the podcast fans who also happens to be one of my most successful clients when it comes to the results she got on the Fit 40 Kickstart. And she's going to impart her wisdom that she learned along the way and drop tons of tips that helped her out, that are going to help you out. So, my client Samantha is here with us in the house. Welcome, Samantha.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very, very welcome. I'm glad to have clients on because I feel like you guys live in the life, like you know exactly where you came from, what you did, and it's all fresh right now. Because fitness pros, we know the stuff, but we're so far removed from that beginning process.
Yeah.
So I feel like you could drop a lot of really good insight today.
Well, hopefully I can share some things. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Because I also forgot to mention, guys, Samantha is 20 pounds down, lost 4 inches in the waist, 3.5 in the hip, and 2 in her neck. And that's not even counting all the other spots that she measured. What was it, 19 inches overall?
Yeah. Just over 19 inches over all my body.
That's incredible. And that was only in what, 3 months?
3 months. Yeah.
Wow.
3 month
Yeah,
journey. It was a big change in 3 months.
absolutely. Now, I know that when it comes to like clothing size, a lot of us can't really conceptualize that. Like, how many sizes are we talking? Is that?
So I've gone down two clothing sizes. I've had to buy new underwear, new bras, throw out some old shirts, buying some new shirts, new pants. It's a big change.
Jeez. See, I remember, I think it was probably you and like, I think maybe Heather, like, we have to buy new underwear. And I'm like, hey, I honestly didn't even really remember to tell you that, but I'm
It's
glad
a
that we're
good
here.
problem to have.
It is a good problem to have. And now we just got to donate, not the underwear, but donate
No,
the other clothes.
exactly, exactly.
But anyway, let's bring it back. Let's talk about before all of this because I think
Sure.
it's a good place to understand where you were at when we first talked. Because
Yeah.
I know before, what was it? You won the scholarship
Yeah.
that
For
got
Mother's
you
Day.
the 3 months for Mother's Day. And
Yeah.
before that point, we had talked prior, but
Yeah.
let's let the audience know here. What were you doing and where were you at and what were you struggling with at that point?
So I had always been, previous to that, I was trying to do it all by myself. I was trying to use my Fitness Pal, but without really understanding what goes into portion sizes and nutrients and where you're going to get the most bang for your buck for food. I still was failing in that way. Trying to exercise, but I wasn't being effective with my exercises, but also I had no routine and nobody to be accountable to. And so I really wasn't doing, I mean, looking back, I wasn't doing shit.
Hey, you were doing a lot of good things. It just we needed to fine tune a few because
Well, and I think I wanted to be there. I didn't know how to get there, and that's where you came in.
yeah, yeah. I mean, what I'll be honest, you had a lot of the things down, like the basics of like, okay, I probably should eat less, I probably should move more, but like you said, there were some dots that needed to be connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I had a very dysregulated relationship with food growing up, and I didn't have a lot of vegetables in my diet as a child, and I didn't have great role models for food as a child. So it was a lot of learning as an
mhm.
adult on what makes a healthy meal, what is an acceptable portion size, and things like that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up because I think a lot of times, especially adults, will be like, I know what to do. Like I know this, but we grew up with like not a lot of vegetables and
Yeah.
not understanding that you can leave some food on the plate.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what were some of the initial changes? Like what were some of the big ones that happened first where you're like, oh, I do this. This is pretty awesome. I feel really good.
I think just like the small things in life, like, I always took the stairs or I always parked farther away. Like those little things that add up, I've always did those. Being consistent with a routine for exercising, I never did. Understanding, where like having enough protein, like what is actually going to help with food rather than just how many vegetables can I get into me that aren't going to keep me full. Um, So I did know, like you say, most people do, like if a salad is obviously better than takeout food. But I didn't know how to incorporate the things I knew into my daily life, into I'm a busy mom of two, I run my own business, my husband's a shift worker. How do I incorporate those things that I know into day-to-day life?
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up the whole idea of like your husband being a shift worker, you being super duper busy. What were some of the tangible things that you did that were the changes you made that really paid off?
So the first one was, I'm sure a lot of people are the same. I hate chopping vegetables. I really, really hate chopping vegetables.
Hey,
So
I'm right there with you.
right? It's like tedious, it's time consuming, and I hate it. So we bought a veggie chopper from Amazon, and it is like the best thing I've ever bought. And it allowed me to chop things quickly and get them into my mouth more. So whereas it always seemed so daunting to cut up all the veggies and do all of the extra prep work, now it's super quick and now I don't have an excuse.
Love that.
So small things like that. And then making sure that it's in the house. Instead of saying, well, I'm going to meal plan for the week and then I'll stop at the store and get the things I need. If it's already in the house, I have no excuse to not do it.
Yep. Making your whole life a little bit easier and setting your environment up for success.
Yeah.
Always a win.
And honestly, like it might not be feasible for a lot of people, but I registered a membership with Instacart. So I could be on my way to a photo shoot and be like, oh, I need to order groceries. Well, I know I'm going to be there 10 minutes early. I'm going to put my order in. It'll be at my doorstep when I get home. Those little things made a huge difference for me. So, the $10 a month for the membership was worth it for me to be able to make sure that I could have consistently fresh veggies and things in my house.
Yeah, and that's huge. That's one of those investing in your health strategies that people don't really realize. It's like, all right, it's $10 and maybe leaving a good tip if they do a good job. It's like that's $15 to potentially save you an hour or two.
You're
Is
right.
it
And
worth it?
honestly, the impulse buys, you don't do the impulse buys because you order what you want. So honestly, we save money by doing it because I'm not going to Costco and buying $300 worth of food when I only needed 100.
Yep. Yep. Because you're only looking, you're not going through the aisles seeing, ooh, this looks nice or that looks nice. It's
Exactly.
I'm searching specifically for chicken.
Yeah. And honestly, where I have such a busy lifestyle, the investment in saving the time, like $10 is worth my time to not have to spend 3 hours going to Costco.
Yep. Yep. And for a lot of people, there's probably that one subscription that they never really use. Like I just got rid of Apple TV and that's
Yeah.
$10 right there. So it's
Yeah,
like if somebody listening is like, oh, I have that one that I never really use it on Instacart. It might be life
exactly.
changing.
And for us, it was like now I sit down once a week and I go, okay, I need Costco. I hate going to Costco. It is so busy. It's a 3 hour journey every time. And if you go in the store, you're going to overspend.
Oh, yeah.
So I find it's way easier to stick to my budget, but also to stick to the things that I need to make my, healthy choices in my life.
Yeah. And just curious with the Costco, do you need a membership at Costco if you're on
Yeah.
Instacart?
Yep. You put your membership number in. So even if you're an executive member, you still get the money towards your points.
Gotcha. That is 100% a question for myself because I'm just like, do I have to spend money on two memberships? But you guys could
No,
always get it from ShopRite, Food Lion, or
exactly. There's other
Aldi.
places you could order
Yeah,
from. That for us was a big one because Costco for us, like I can order in bulk for my family and it works for us.
exactly.
But you can still use Instacart for other local grocery stores.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Man, I should get an affiliate code at this point. We're really hyping it up. I might as well make some
I
money
know,
off of
right?
it. But anywho, now we talked about all these changes that you made. Like when it comes to all the things you implemented, what kind of an impact did that have? Because I know a lot of people, their initial reaction when it comes to making these changes is, oh, my kids aren't going to want to eat healthy, or my spouse is not going to be that supportive. Like, how did that go for you?
So for me, my biggest reason for wanting to do this was my kids. I grew up, my dad's from England, so we had a very bland British diet growing up, and there weren't a whole lot of fancy vegetables on the plate. And my kids were learning that lifestyle. And so I didn't want them to grow up having the same relationship with food that I did. I wanted them to understand healthy eating and things in moderation. And I could see that they weren't getting that because we didn't live it ourselves. So, of course, they weren't going to understand it. So I sat down with my husband and I said, look, I'm doing this and I just want your support. And he went, 100%. What do you need? And then I sat down with my kids and I said, look, I'm going to be doing this and you're going to see me doing workouts and you're going to see our food changing. And everything we're doing is to make our bodies healthier and stronger. And, there are still days that we'll order takeout because everything in moderation. There's nothing that's completely against that you can never have McDonald's or a Big Mac or something. You just have to make sure that you're in moderation with everything so that you're not only having Big Macs.
Yeah.
Um,
And I know that there's some people listening that are like, no way, this is BS. Like, this is so unhealthy. But it's like, here we are, 20 pounds down, two dress sizes down.
yeah,
And have you gotten blood work in the meantime, like to see,
I
has any of that
haven't.
improved?
I haven't. I was on definitely on the path to type 2 diabetes. And that was something I had brought up to you at the very beginning. And I was
Hmm.
very, very fearful that I was going to go in that direction. I could feel in my body when my sugars were off. I have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. So sugars are already hard for me anyways. My dad has type 2 diabetes. So it was absolutely a worry for me. I don't feel those sugar rushes anymore. I don't feel the lightheaded or like the really sluggishness anymore because I'm nourishing my body in a really positive way now. Um, there is obviously a risk of diabetes in my family and it may still happen, but I feel way better. Um, I could always tell that my sugars were not doing or my body was not feeling great after I had, a big piece of pizza or whatever it may be. I don't feel that now. Like we went out for our anniversary dinner the other night and I had a big bowl of pasta because everything in moderation. I didn't feel that afterwards with that amount of, carbs that I used to feel. And then we went for a walk, together down the road, just enjoying ourselves, like making those small little changes, but still being able to do fun things together was so big.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people listening are going to be like, wow, that's really inspiring because I know there's so many people that have PCOS that are insulin resistant or on the
Yeah,
borderline of insulin resistant. And they're like, I just can never lose weight. There's no way I'll be able to do that. But it really
that
just
was
comes
me.
down to the consistency portion,
Yeah.
correct?
And I think, that was me. I always said, like, I can't lose weight no matter what I can do. And I had actually gone to my doctor 3 weeks before I won your giveaway and said, like, I can't lose weight and I don't know what to do. And she said, well, I can prescribe you Ozempic. And I went, I don't know, maybe give me some time to think about it. And then when I won your thing, I went, okay, maybe this is my sign from the universe that maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe there is another way. And I thought I knew all of the things that I needed to do. And I thought I was doing the things I needed to do. And I was so wrong.
Yeah. And when you look back, because I know the concept of 80/20 you just brought up, where it's like, hey, if we're good most of the time, then we can afford to have these little indulgences
Mhm.
because that 20% allows you to stay good 80% of the
Yeah.
time. But so many people run into the trap of trying to be good 100% of the time. And then that one little treat throws them
Yeah.
completely off course. So then they actually are only healthy 20% of the time,
Yeah.
but 80% of the time, they're just completely off the wagon.
Yeah. And I think that is a really big point to bring up that in our culture, it is very much everything is all or nothing. And that's kind of the way I had always looked at, health and fitness is that, well, I screwed up. I'm done. Like, obviously I made a mistake. I haven't done this for a couple days. Obviously I've messed it up now. And I think we all really need to change our thought process on it. It is not an all or nothing. We are always going to make mistakes. We're going to fall off for a couple times here or there, but it's what you do when you fall off that makes you just have to get back up. Yeah, you may have gone off your diet. You may have completely indulged and binged yourself for a week and a half. Doesn't mean you can't start again. We all go like this summer I was on vacation and I had this and we had family in and I was constantly going places and being fed foods that I didn't have control over. But we can still make appropriate choices that go along with that. And I think as a culture, it is such a black and white environment these days that it's so hard to just keep going after you fall off.
Mhm. And it almost sounds like that mindset lesson stuck with you, the mindset
Oh, did it ever?
mastery.
Yeah. And I think I almost needed permission from somebody to say, like, it's okay if you make a mistake, just keep going. Um, and
Yeah.
I have ADHD. We've talked about this before, and routine is hard for me. So in the beginning, I really struggled with getting into a routine of exercising and doing the grocery shopping and doing some meal planning and those types of things. And then even just changing my thought processes, that was hard for me. But one thing you said to me once was just because you want a snack doesn't mean that you can't have a snack. Let's find a healthier alternative to that snack. I used to love potato chips. Like we talked about this before, and you're like, cool. Well, what about popcorn? It's still crunchy, it's still salty, but popcorn's way better for you. Now I love popcorn and I actually don't think about chips very often because I find them way too greasy now.
There you go. It's crazy how the palate kind of changes sometimes.
It
And if
does.
you wanted to, you've already learned the tools that you need to be like, I can have these chips and factor it in and be totally fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like I find myself cheering myself on now for small wins. I still get cravings, as I'm sure you do. We all get the cravings for the bad
Oh,
things.
yeah.
There was one night 2 weeks ago that I absolutely wanted to order a pizza at 10 o'clock at night. We all know that we don't need pizza at 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, well, let's go into the kitchen and see what I can do. And I ended up making this awesome, like, cucumber, pepper, onion salad, and it was delicious. And I actually really enjoyed it. And I felt really satisfied with it. But it's just that when you think you want a treat, the automatic thought process is to go back to those old ways and say, well, I love pizza and I want pizza.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that you mastered along this process is the whole being mindful aspect.
Yeah.
Because in the program, we talk about mastering your inner toddler, which
Yeah.
is that thing that comes up when you're craving. You're like,
Yeah.
I want it. I want it
Yeah.
now.
And
And
it's
you did
hard.
incredible with just like having a moment, not like dulling it and saying bad, no, but having a conversation with yourself and being like, why do I want this?
Yeah.
Do I really want this?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's always been my hard thing. That inner toddler, like I struggle to not buy the thing I want to buy because I'm an impulse buyer. Like, but you can still have the snacks and still have those, little things, but really just kind of trying to rein that mindset in of sure I can have a snack, but what can I have that's actually going to be better for me, that it's not going to make me feel horrible afterwards. Because I think that's the difference too, is that once you start making changes and you're feeling better at the beginning, it's very easy to go back and feel that horrible feeling that you had before when you're feeling all drug out and you know in the carb coma after having pizza or whatever. So you don't want to go back to feeling that way. So it's almost more enticing to find those alternatives.
Yeah, because like you were saying before, how like it was so easy to fall off track and try something different and not really stick with it. Like you have proven to yourself over and over and over again that, hey, this works. This is how I
Yeah.
like to feel. This is what feeling good results in. And it all just kind of tied together where you're like, okay, this is worth the effort.
Yeah. And I think that's it too. And working with you almost made me accountable to somebody. And really, at the end of the day, I should be accountable to myself. But knowing that someone was going to check in on me and be like, hey, how's it going? Hey, I see you haven't done a workout here or there. Like, just knowing that somebody's cares about it was a big thing for me to know, say, okay, well, he's going to message me if I don't do this in a couple days. So I'm going to go and do it.
Yeah.
And then it got me into the habit of just doing it myself. And like you said, once you get into the habit, you get finished a workout and then you almost feel that high from the workout. You have all these endorphins going and your brain feels better. And my ADHD is better. I dropped a dose in my ADHD because my brain is just feeling so much better and I feel more in control and you have more energy. So it also is like this big circle where, if you put the work in, even though you don't feel like doing a workout, but then you have more energy, then you do more things and you burn more calories. And it's just this really big circle of life.
Yeah. It's like that saying, I have no energy to work out. And that's why I work out. So I have energy to.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is so, so good. I know there's a lot of people thinking the same way you did in the beginning that are just kind of in that place. And now let's look forward. Like you've gone through all of this stuff. You've learned so many helpful things. What's next? Like, what is your eye on? Like, what's this end goal that somebody listening could be like, oh, I could get there?
So I think for me, my biggest thing is I don't have a goal number. I don't have a goal weight, a goal size, a goal clothing size to be in. My goal is to continue making healthy choices so that my children grow up seeing the healthy choices and therefore make healthy choices for themselves. And for me, the biggest impact that I've gotten out of all of this is seeing my children naturally making healthy choices for themselves now. So they used to come out for a bedtime snack every night and have a bear paw or a granola bar or something packaged. And now the last night they came out and they were like, Mom, we have no apples left. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll get more apples tomorrow. And they're like, but what are we going to have? We're out of bananas too. Like just those little things, seeing my kids love new meals and new vegetables. And we started going to the grocery store once a week and I'd be like, okay, you guys pick a new vegetable to try this week and we'll try it new. And if we like it, awesome. If we don't, cool, let's try a new one next week.
Yeah.
And
I know there's somebody listening right now that's like, oh my God, if my kids could get to that point.
So the thing with kids that I have learned is if you give them the choice, they're more inclined to do it. So I
Yeah.
brought my kids into the middle of the produce section and I said, okay, you two work together and find something that you want to try that you don't know what it is. And they went, what? And like the look on their face was priceless. I should have taken a picture. And I said, no, we're going to try something new. I want you to wander around. I don't care if we're here for an hour, wander around the produce department, find something that you have no idea what it is, and we will try it. And they're like, well, what if you don't know how to cook it? I will learn. Let's try something new. And so now we have new things. You know, my son never ever used to eat onions. Now he loves onions. He never liked salad. He refused. Anytime we had salad in the house, he's like, no, I don't like that. He asked me yesterday for a chicken salad in his lunch tomorrow. You know, like those huge changes in them. I don't expect my kids to eat salad all the time. Let's be realistic, but not complaining when there's peppers and onions or something in their spaghetti sauce now, or mushrooms. Like my kids literally used to just pick them all out of their food. And now it's like, oh, well, this is just normal. We just eat it.
Yeah.
So those little things. And then, you know, trying new meals. My daughter's now excited about learning how to cook. And, you know, she does my workouts with me, which is just the best feeling. So there's some nights that she's like, Mom, did you do your workout today? I'm like, no, not yet. Come on, let's do it. So she has her own little 2 pound weights now that she uses, and I use my bigger ones, and we do it together. She hates dead bugs for the record.
Hey, she's in a big group of people that do not like dead bugs,
I
but
actually
they're
love them now.
they're like a multivitamin. They're good for you.
Honestly, so I had a lot of medical issues having the kids, and some things that I just accepted were going to be part of daily life. My hips snapped all the time. My knees snapped. My knees were always in pain, but it was, you know, just things, well, that's just the way it is. I'll need a knee replacement at some point, or my hips just are screwed up from pregnancy. I don't have those pains anymore. Like, I remember messaging you the first time I did dead bugs going, my hips snap every time I do this. And you were like, well, it's because you don't have enough muscle yet. And then the first time they didn't snap, I went, whoa, so this is great.
Yep, that and the we also went over breathing mechanics too, which is also a
Yeah.
big deal. So if anybody listening is like, "Oh, that happens to me." One of the things that we went over was making sure to breathe out as you go out and in
Yes.
as you come back in. That can
Yeah.
be really helpful if you're doing leg lowers or dead bugs or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And so seeing the impact on my kids for me is I will never stop because they have really taken it on now. And, you know, it's been that positive example for them. So, and that's what I wanted. That was my end goal.
Yeah, and that's huge because I can't even imagine how many people want to give their kids the gift of never having to stress over food,
Yeah.
like not having to go through life feeling guilty every time they have a little bit of an indulgence.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is so much childhood obesity. And we really focus in our household that it's not about the size of your body, it's about how strong you are and how healthy the inside of your body is. But in return, when you become stronger and you put healthy things inside of your body, the outside also becomes stronger.
Yeah. And I think that brings up a good point because a lot of people do want to do right by their kids and they want to give them the tools to succeed,
Yeah.
but actually end up doing the opposite and
Yeah.
set them up for things like eating disorders and
Yeah.
disordered eating in general, because
Yeah.
food rules are one of the worst things you could do for kids and say, no, you can't have this, or we only eat this. But how you just said, give them the autonomy and
Yeah.
talk about the result rather than this food or this
Yeah.
thing. Just be like, we're chasing feeling good.
Yeah. And honestly, they both have said that. You know, Mom, I feel so much better. I have so much more energy. Awesome. When are we going to go? Should we go for a walk with the dog? Let's go to the park. Let's go, you know, wherever. And you're right. When you have no energy, you work out to get energy. And that's exactly what they're learning.
Yep, which is huge. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the biggest gift any parent could give their kid ever.
Yeah.
So, and it all comes down to you leading by example, which I
Yeah.
think is the real key because a lot of people do have a spouse or kids that are just not on board. And
Yeah.
you cannot force anybody. You can't force any human to do anything by
No.
sheer will or nagging them or telling them a million times to do
Yeah.
this or that. You got to do it yourself and they got to be then they got to be a little jealous.
Yeah. And you're right. Like, you know, you look at all these people who say, oh, well, I want my husband to quit smoking. He's not going to quit until he's ready. I
Mhm.
was ready. I wanted to do it. I just didn't know how.
Yep. And now, when they are ready, they know you're right there to help
Yeah.
them along the way.
Exactly. And it's not just mind, you know, it is mind over matter, but you need to have the tools to implement a proper situation to be able to do it properly and actually have it be sustainable. Because we've all been on yo-yo diets. We've all been on crazy exercises that aren't sustainable. That was the thing that I loved the most about working with you, is that everything was completely doable, 3 times a week doing a workout, a strength training workout, and then, go for a walk the other days. That's doable. I have 2 young kids. I run a business. My husband's never home. Like, I can take the dog for a walk with the kids for 20 minutes. I can do a 20-minute workout. These things are easily put into my daily life. You don't need to be at a gym for an hour and a half.
Wait, can we repeat that? That you only did 20-minute workouts and you got these insane results?
20 minutes of strength training 3 times a week, and then some sort of activity every day. So
Yep.
whether that was just walking the dog or playing with the kids or going to the field and playing ball with the kids or playing catch or whatever it was, 20 minutes of strength training 3 times a week, something activity wise every day.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think a lot of people need to hear that because, like you said in the beginning with the all or nothing, there's so many people locked in saying, if I don't work out for an hour, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week, then I'm just not going to get what I want and it's not worth it.
But that's not sustainable. And I think a lot of people, when I first started working with you, were like, well, we'll see the results. The results are clear. I have lost 19 inches off my body 3 times a week, 20 minutes, some sort of activity every day, and then changing the way I looked at food.
Yep.
It's
That's it.
sustainable.
That's it, people. But you got to learn how to do it
And that's
because
it. Those tools, I didn't know a lot of what you taught me. And I thought I knew everything. I didn't.
yeah. And it's almost like the case of like when people now on social media, a big thing is like therapy language and saying doing the work. It's like, yeah, you should probably calm down and like take some moments to yourself. But what kind of tools do you have to rely on? What strategies do you have to rely on? It's like going to the doctor and they say move more, eat less. And you're just like, cool,
Cool. How do I
thanks.
do that? Like, that's not enough. You need to have more tools in your tool belt, especially for those days that life is crazy. You don't stop from sun up to sundown. How do you fit those things into your daily life when life is bonkers? And this day and age, everybody's life is bonkers. So this program was so easily attainable. There were some nights at 11 o'clock, I was like, okay, I've been on the go all day. I got 20 minutes in me and then I'm passing out for the rest of the night. And that's what it was, 20 minutes. And then I literally went and passed out and went to bed. But it was
And how
20
good
minutes.
was that sleep?
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, those post-workout naps or post-workout like full-on sleeps are the
Yes.
best.
The best. And it's funny because now if I skip a couple of days, I go, oh, I feel gross. I need to work out. Like, it does really breed the continuation. Like I said to you before we started this call, I set an alarm for 5:30 this morning to get up and do a workout before my kids woke up and the day started, because I hadn't done a workout in a couple of days and I was starting to feel sluggish and I wasn't sleeping as well. So I set the alarm and up I got, and I did a half hour of working out this morning before I woke up my kids, and I had a great day and I was super productive and I have lots of energy. I don't expect everyone to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, but it definitely made for a great day.
Now, day one, you probably wouldn't have done that, right? Probably wouldn't have woke
Oh
up for
God,
5
no.
a.m.
I was hitting snooze 3 or 4 times every time the alarm went off, every single time.
Yeah, because the reason I bring that up is because right now you're experiencing like that high, that like addiction that fit people understand, and they're like, how do I function without exercise? And
Yeah.
then there's the majority of people don't understand it, and they're like, that's never going to be me. Like that, I'm never going to get to that
I
point.
said it. I said I will never wake up early in the morning. I value my sleep too much. But the thing is, when I work out, my sleep is better. I sleep way better after working out or exercising or even just going for a walk with the kids than I do if I don't do that. And
Yeah.
so I actually get less sleep if I don't work out.
Yeah. And the quality aspect too, because I know there's a lot of people that do have like young kids, animals that won't shut the
Yeah.
hell up at night, that just cannot get a certain
Yeah.
amount of hours. But when it comes to the depth of the sleep, did you notice a difference in that too?
Huge. I think I told you at the very beginning, you asked how my sleep was, and I was like, oh, it's horrible. I'm up like 2 or 3 times a night. I wake up at the crack of dawn. I have a hard time falling asleep. Like, it sucks. I don't get enough sleep 100%. And now I don't wake up overnight for the most part. I fall asleep very quickly. I still wake up at the crack of dawn, but I think that's just the way it is. Like, my dad still wakes up at the crack of dawn too. But I feel rested when I wake up. I feel ready to start the day when I wake up. I feel like I've gotten enough sleep.
I love hearing all of that.
Yeah.
So happy that you're experiencing this. And I know a lot of people just need to understand the grass is greener. And when you put in the work, you get to feel the high and really kind of lock your teeth in to be like, okay, this can be a real thing for me.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing that people need to understand is that it's okay to not know how to do it. I thought I did. It's okay to not know how. That's why people like you exist, to teach us. And you told me at the very beginning, the best thing I could ever do is to teach you so that you don't need me anymore. And I went, okay, he actually just wants to help people, because no trainer is going to want to say that, because that's their whole business. But for me, I took that to heart and I went, cool, let's learn how I don't need you anymore. And you've taught me so much that I don't want to be parted now. So I want to stay with you. There's obviously more to learn.
Yes, yes. Hey, I'll admit I am probably the world's worst businessman, and that's probably a horrible business strategy. But the long-term goal, and I'm glad that you brought this up, because the long-term goal is to have an army of Fit 40 people that are
Yeah.
just like, this is the way I live.
Yeah. But
Me, my
honestly,
family
I
are
feel
healthy.
like
Like,
the way you do that incites people to want to share you, because most coaches are like, well, we're going to work together for the rest of your life. But if you meet somebody, and it's the same in my business, I'm a photographer. If somebody meets me and they feel valued and they feel like they got value out of what they've paid me for, they will come back. And it's the same for a trainer. If I work with you and I feel like I got value and I feel like you value me, of course I'm going to refer you to my friends, and I'm going to want other people to feel the way I feel, because that's a great experience.
well, I appreciate you saying that, and I'll be
Yeah.
getting you your $50 after the show. So I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So now that we covered pretty much everything about the journey and how far you've done and how incredible everything has been, what would be some, like, for to close on this, what would be some advice you would have given yourself day one if you were contemplating like signing up for the Kickstart and you're just like, you were in that same headspace of like, I should know this stuff. Like, I should be okay. Like, if somebody's listening right now, like going, what would you say?
I think I say this to my kids a lot. Babies are born knowing only how to do two things: suckle and cry. If you want them to know anything else, you have to teach them. We are not magically born into this world knowing how to be healthy and how to make good choices for ourselves. If you want to know how, you need to learn. And you need to learn from someone other than TikTok and someone other than YouTube, because they're not actually there for you. They're there to make money off of their videos. Um,
Unless it's me.
well, it's okay to not know, but find the right resource. You're worth putting the work in, because it comes back tenfold. The work you put into yourself really does pay off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you put the right amount of effort in the right direction, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
I see the impact in every part of my life, from my relationship with my husband, my, energy every day, the enjoyment I get out of every day, my ability to do more work, because as a photographer, it's a very physical job. So not being ridiculously exhausted every day because I'm just working. Everything, it impacts every part of my life, not just the way I eat. Our finances are better because we're not eating out all the time, because I don't want to eat out all the time. It touches every part of your life.
yeah. Well, that's amazing. I love that you've been able to do all this to this point and experience all these things and now be a leader and really tell people like, hey, this is possible. So
Yeah,
thank you so much for just letting everybody know that whatever you got going on, whether it is PCOS, insulin
yeah,
resistance, you got a crazy schedule, like it's possible.
yeah. You're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, of course. You were an incredible guest. And to cap it off, to say I'm a proud coach is putting it so lightly. So
Thank you so
thank you
much.
for being the world's like best client. You crushed everything that we did, that we set out to do. So incredible job.
Thank you. Thank you for all your support, because I wouldn't have been able to do it alone. Obviously, that's what I just said. You need to have somebody in your corner fighting for you. And it's been a great experience.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, if anybody listening right now is like, okay, I'm sold, or I have a couple of questions, don't worry. We always hop on a call before the kick starts. So if you guys want more info, all the info is going to be down in the caption, in the description, wherever you're listening. Just click, give it a look, set up a call, and we'll talk about it and see if it's right for you. All right. Until next time, everybody, thank you so much for making it all the way to the end. I will see you all later. But until then, go kick some ass. See you later.